Okay, this is Professor Conkle with Web234 PHP Q&A for week 4. This week in PHP we are covering, pull it up here real quick, forms and sessions. Just a reminder on each week's assignments, you have 2 breakdowns. One is a lab and one is a take-home homework. The lab you do not have to turn in, but it is good practice. I recommend doing a lab before you do the homework, even though you don't turn it in or get graded on it. It's good practice. And I decided years ago not to grade the labs because students then, when they're graded, when anything's graded, you know this, you feel more pressure to get it in. You feel more pressure to do exactly what's required, but no more, no less. So if it's not being graded, I've found out over the years, students can play with it more, understand the concepts more, and really enjoy the learning experience. I do have a graded portion, though, each week, as you know, which is the homework. So this week there's an opening podcast and week 4 task. Make sure you've watched that. We're going to be looking at arrays this week, practicing in the lab, and then doing a homework on forms and sessions. And basically the way sessions work in PHP is when you're on a website, and you say a banking website you log in, or even Facebook or Twitter or any site you log in with, when you log in with your username and password, it carries that username and password authentication to every page using sessions. Sessions are basically a way for PHP to remember something. In this case, remembering variable values like a username. To where on the top of every page on the website you see welcome, comma Chuck, welcome, comma Vanita, welcome, comma Greg, welcome, comma Diane on the website. And so you've seen that. And so the reading this week is going to be covering forms and sessions. The forms is a PDF file. The sessions is also a PDF file, which explains it. And then Rocks Chapter 2. I do want to make mention the book, if you didn't download it already. If you go, if you go to our Web234 modules section, and you were supposed to download this on week 1, but maybe you forgot or didn't see it. When you get over here to the PHP textbooks, there is a link here to the Rocks Beginning PHP Apache MySQL Web Developer. You click on that. It says here in red, it doesn't match the textbook numbers. The PDF doesn't, but it still has the real numbers at the bottom of the page. And then there's a source code for Rocks as well there. So that's the download it's talking about, or PDF for the chapter. And so I'll go back to the week 4. So you're doing some reading, a couple PDF readings, chapter in that PDF download for Rocks Chapter 2. And Rocks is an awesome company, by the way, WROX.com. Has tons of resources, tons of reference books. I recommend any language you're learning, regardless of what it might be. They're the best book to buy for a developer because they're made by developers for developers. So the layout of Rocks is you just find what you're looking for, it explains it, and then gives you a few examples. So I really like it. So form sessions in Rocks Chapter 2 is a reading. The practice lab is you're creating a member site this week, and in the member site you're basically having to there's some notes, I believe. I'll tap the screen. There's a notes that you have to read, an example here, which I'll log into a second, and source code. So if I click on the member site notes, it's going to bring up a page here, PDF page of a step-by-step of how to create a member site using PHP. So go over that. Part of the things you'll be doing here is this week is playing with your PHP-MyAdmin to create tables within MySQL. So first thing you've got to do is create some type of user name database area in PHP. So let me just real quickly fire up XAMPP on my Mac to show you how to get there. And it's in the podcast, but I'll go ahead and show you real quick. And PHP-MyAdmin is used to manage your database in PHP websites. So let's see here if this got started. So I want to turn on MySQL, I want to turn on Apache, and then I'm going to go over here and type in my local host and XAMPP. Alright, and then down here, and if you're on Windows, the screen will look a little different, but you will see PHP-MyAdmin in your Windows install. And you'll notice all of the different databases that I have in mind. And the slides here show us that we need to create a username and database using PHP-MyAdmin. In order to do that, we're going to start by creating a user that has privileges, and the user will basically become the name of the database as well. So for just example's sake here, I will go to PHP-MyAdmin and click over here on users on the Mac, and it might be users on the new XAMPP as well, or it might be privileges, one of the two. But mine's users on my Mac, XAMPP install. And I'm going to go down here and click add user, and I'm going to go ahead and do testers plural, because I don't have that one. I want to drop down this host and select localhost, and I'm going to do same password. Password is going to be the same as my username, so I can remember it. And then I'm going to check here, the database needs to be created for the user with the same name and grant all privileges, and grant all privileges on all other wildcard name. I'm also going to check all here on global privileges, and then finally here click go. Now I've added that new user, testers, with the testers database, and I've completed that slide. Actually, the next couple slides, added a user. Now I did that. I created the username with a database, did that. Now in the config.php page where you connect it, that's what the PHP uses to have in there the username, password, and database name. We need to configure it to create or configure an existing config.php to connect to the database. Here's an example of one. And so the one I just created would be testers for DB name, testers for username, and testers for password. Everything else would stay the same. Localhost for the host, testers, testers, and testers. And that would allow me to connect to the database. So I'm going to go ahead and click on week 4. Actually, let me go into Text Wrangler to view it. Be better. We're going to open up week 4 real quick and go into XAMPP, htdocs, and they want everything. Web234. And let's start out with the index. The index includes PHP box. PHP box has a session it creates, which is the index page. It includes a navigation for the navigation, but this one I really want to focus on is the login, main login.php. It's going to need to have in there, this page is going to do a post once they log in with their username and password to the check login.php. So I'll click on that. And here is the reference to config.php file. And you have to have that in order to test to make sure the username and password exist. So I'm going to go to the login information here for labs, which is config.php. And there is my config.php. And it's got in there localhost, cconcle, techno77. But I could also have in there what I just created, which was testers. So it'd be testers for DB name, testers for username, testers for password. So basically the config.php is designed to help connect your website to a database for authentication. And so when you, on the practice lab, there's already an example, and the podcast goes over it more, but on the practice, whenever you type in, it tells you to type in admin, login admin, password admin. So when I type this in, it's actually going to my local database called cconcle with the username cconcle. And the reason I know